The gear assembly is the eccentric that drives the slider shaft and blade. It consists of the gear wheel, the eccentric pin, and the gear needle bearing. The teeth on the gear assembly will wear over time. This will lead to excessive gear lash, skipping, or complete failure where the blade no longer moves. If the eccentric needle bearing fails, the post could be damaged. Replacing the gear assembly is a repair that you can do yourself, and I'm going to show you how.
Hi, I'm Mark Socha.
Do-it-yourself repairs like these are easier than you might think. From lawn machines to cordless drills, kitchen mixers,
Outdoor grills.
our how-to videos walk you through each repair from start to finish. So doing it yourself means never having to do it alone.
Let's get started.
I'll begin by removing the shoe. Now I'll remove the shoe clamp. I'll use a punch to remove the post from the button. Inside the housing, there's a leaf spring, and I'll go ahead and remove it. Now I'll remove the insulation cover. Now I can remove the blade clamp. First, I'll remove the rubber cover. The blade clamp is held together with a split retaining ring. I'll remove it next. With the retaining ring removed, now I can remove the adjustment collar. As I do this, I want to be careful that I don't lose the blade retaining pin. Next, I'll use a magnet to remove the pin that secures the clamping collar. And now the collar. I'll remove the plastic sleeve. The remainder of the blade clamp is secured with this metal pin. I'll use a punch to push the pin out. Now remove the punch. As I do, the spring tension will release on the torsion spring. Also, the push pin and spring will come free. So I just want to be careful I don't lose the parts. I'll remove the plastic ring, and as I pull away the torsion spring, it'll remove the push pin and the push pin spring. Now I'll remove the gear case cover. Now I can remove the cover. Next, I'll remove the plates that secure the gear. With the plates removed, now I can pull the gear away from the saw. Now I'll remove the needle bearing from the eccentric pin on the gear. It just slides off. Now I can install the new gear assembly. Place it over the shaft, and I'll secure it with the plates. And I'll reinstall the eccentric bearing back onto the pin. Now I'll reassemble the gear housing cover assembly back onto the gear housing. As I do this, I need to make sure that I align the bearing with the T-slot in the slider. And I'll secure it with the screws. The longer screws go in the front, and the shorter two in the rear. Now I'll reinstall the blade clamp. The first piece is the torsion spring. It's important when I install it that the center pin is pointing up so the gap is at the top of the spring, and the other pin is on the right side of the saw when you're standing behind it. Next, I'll install the collar. I align the pin on the torsion spring with the hole in the collar. Now I'll twist the collar clockwise until I can insert the long metal cross pin. I want to insert the pin just enough to hold the collar in place. I don't want it to block the center of the clamp. Next, I'll install the long compression spring. And now the push plate. I'll use my punch to compress the push plate spring until the hole in the push plate aligns with the pin. Now I need to set the clamp to the locked position. I'll do that with the adjusting ring. There's 2 tabs inside the adjusting ring that'll align with the 2 grooves on the collar. Then again, I'll rotate the collar clockwise until it locks in place. Now I can install the plastic sleeve. You'll notice there's 2 notches in the sleeve. I'll align those with the notches in the plastic collar. Next, I'll install the clamp collar. I align the small hole with the small hole in the shaft, and secure the collar with a small metal pin. Now I'll install the shoulder pin and spring. And I'll place the adjusting collar over the shaft, again aligning the tabs with the notches in the plastic pieces. And I'll secure the whole assembly with the retaining ring. And last, the rubber cover. Now I can reinstall the insulation cover. I'll apply a little silicone spray to a rag and then apply it to the saw's housing. That'll make it a little easier to install the cover. Now reinstall the leaf spring. It goes into the housing with the little bent tabs facing down. There are 2 metal tabs inside the saw that each of the legs fit around. Now reinstall the shoe lock. There are recesses on either side of the housing for the shoe lock buttons to fit into. You'll notice that this button's a little thinner than the one on the other side. The recess for the thinner button is a little shorter. And now I can reinstall the button. I'll place a socket onto the button we've already installed and rest that on the table. Now I'll place the second button onto the shaft and tap it into place with a mallet. And I'll finish up by reinstalling the shoe. I align the shoe with the opening in the housing, insert it to the proper depth, and lock it in place. And that's how easy it is to install a new gear assembly in your recip saw. Be sure to check back often for new videos and expert advice. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up
And leave a comment.